Do you like hearing the word no? I don't know if I like hearing the word no. Other people don't like hearing the word no. Healthy boundaries. People talk a lot these days about boundaries. What's a boundary? What does it mean, a boundary? Is a boundary, does it make me bad if I have to set my boundary and I'm kind of drawing a line in the sand, or I'm putting up a fence that's going to stop me from feeling connected? And this is a big topic now, because what does it actually mean? I had somebody explain this to me once that I thought was really cleverly done, and it's a boundary is you're laying out a preference, or you're laying out like a point of connection. It's like, here is where I can meet you. We're kind of gauging the distance between us both. If you kind of overshoot that, then I'm going to start to feel all of these different feelings. And people respond to boundaries in different ways. And I think we all have parts of ourselves that do all of this. A part of ourselves that maybe will take more than is willing and ready to be given, and a part of ourselves that will give more than is ready and willing to be taken. And it's not always easy, particularly if you have a history of being out of touch with your own needs. It's not always easy to know when a boundary has been transgressed, and how to set a boundary as well. For a lot of us, it can feel kind of unacceptable or not okay to be able to say, hey, I do want this, this is a yes, or I don't want this is a no, or I don't know if I want this or not, this is a maybe. I think for so many of us to be able to get in touch with what it is that we actually need is the first hurdle. And if we're conditioned into, say, people pleasing patterns or things like that, it can be really difficult to understand where a boundary is until it's been crossed, and we start to feel angry, upset, agitated, or just frustrated or resentful, or something that is really not necessarily the fault of the other person, but it's just that we're numb to what we've needed, and we've not realized when something's gone too far, and then suddenly we're like, oh, I can see this, I can feel this kind of latent anger. It's like, at the time I didn't really feel it, but maybe a day after sometimes, or even longer than that, it's like, oh shit, actually I'm angry about that. Maybe something happened there that unconsciously I wasn't aware of. So being able to not just draw boundaries, but express meeting points of connection is really important, because that tells people, here's all of the different ways and places we can meet and connect. And by sharing this with you, this means that I'm able to show up in a good way. If this goes too far, then I'm not going to feel good, and then I'm not going to be showing up in a good way. If you can't meet me here, that's fine, but I'm going to need to recognize where I have that need, and maybe find other ways to get that need met. So it's really, really important. And there is a good question that my old somatic experiencing therapist used to ask, and she would say, what do I feel? What's going on inside the system? What do I need? What's that feeling in the system trying to tell me? And then what am I available for? And that last question particularly is like, where am I going to start overgiving and feeling resentful? And if we sometimes feel like we want to say no, but we actually say yes, and then feel resentful about it, that stuff's going to compound over time. And it's not bad, it's not our fault necessarily. You've just been conditioned into believing, and maybe this was true at some point, that if I say no, if I can't meet this person here, or if I say this is enough, or I don't want this, then this person is going to withdraw their love. And that can feel very terrifying to maybe a younger part of ourselves that's trapped in the past. I'm tired when I'm making this video, but that's all right. That's not your fault. That's my boundary with myself. So today we're going to explore the terrain of boundaries a little bit with some tapping, and see how it is we feel, because typically people will often oscillate between aggressive boundary setting, like kind of overcompensation, or undercompensation, this kind of collapse and shut down, and then moving into things like shame, which can be very pernicious in the long term. It's like we shame ourselves and make ourselves small and shrink so that this person will, or these people, or whoever will accept us back, like we're non-threatening, so they accept us back. And that is kind of at the core of this people-pleasing paradigm, which is really common and really normal. So you're definitely not alone if you're experiencing something like this. All right, so let's start. Hand on the chest, hand on the belly. Take a couple of breaths into the belly. Start to feel where you are in the body. Start to notice what's happening in the system. What's the tempo and the pace of your bodily experience at the moment? Are you feeling what kind of textures are you experiencing here? Is there a high pitch, high tempo cadence? Are you in this kind of hypervigilance, survival, stress, fight, flight? I need to do something about this now, or everything's gonna go to shit. Or is it, I can't do anything, I'm helpless, I have no capacity, I just don't have it in me to do anything about anything. This complete kind of collapse and nervous system shutdown feeling? Or is it like a combination of those two, where it's like I'm moving back and forth between, I have both of these things active at the same time. I kind of I'm frozen between, I have to do something about this now and I can't do anything about it at all. Helplessness and extreme anxiousness. Like wherever it is that you are, just start to pay attention to the physical sensations of that. You can feel that in the body. You can also notice the space around the body at the same time. Be aware of your points of contact with the ground, wherever your feet are touching, wherever your seat bones are on the chair. Start to check in with the body. What am I feeling? What do I need right now? And don't necessarily jump on an answer, but just allow a little bit of space for something to arise. What do I need? I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to what's going on. I'll listen to the feelings and let an answer just emerge from the space that I've left by not trying to jump on it with the mind. The mind can be very active, but as we know, what's going on in the mind is often reflective of the state of the system. You know, the quality of the thoughts. If you're listening to the narrative content of the thoughts, that's one level of analysis. But if you're actually listening to the pitch, the tone, and the texture of the thoughts, the rhythm, the tempo, the cadence, like what's going on in that department, you know, what's the sound of them? Are they high-pitched, high-tempo thoughts, or are they very slow, helpless kind of thoughts? And that should give you some idea of where your system is actually at in this moment. All of that's okay. You know, it might feel scary, but being aware of what's happening in the body and being aware at this moment that, okay, it's still safe to be here. Maybe you can offer your body some reassurance. It doesn't feel safe, but this feeling that I'm experiencing right now, whatever it is that I'm experiencing, I can handle this. You know, it might not be comfortable, but I'm not dying. It might feel like I'm really scared, but I'm still here. I'm still handling it second by second. Break it down very slowly, moment by moment, and inhale by exhale, breathing in, breath by breath. I can breathe my way through this, and then we can start tapping around the collarbone. Just tap and breathe for a moment. Under the arms. Start to tune into an area of your life, on the liver, both livers, both sides. You've only got one liver. Wrist to wrist. Start to tune into an area of your life where you feel like you overgive and start to feel resentful, or an area of your life where it feels like somebody's taking too much, or you're not standing your ground, or it feels kind of scary to say, hey, no, or hey, I want this, or hey, I really feel like I need this, to express your needs, your points of connection, the places where you can actually meet somebody and say, yeah, this is a good meeting point for us. Here is my preference, can you meet me here? And start to think about where that feels uncomfortable or scary, and start to notice what happens in the body as you think about that. Pay attention to the thoughts that come up, pay attention to the images, the symbols, pay attention to the sentences. Again, we're not trying to suppress anything. It's actually the opposite. We're bringing it in, bringing it closer. Beginning of the eyebrows. Side of the eye. Just focusing on steadying the breath. Thinking about this situation, noticing how intense it feels on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most intense. Like when I think about this, I feel really scared. That's like a 10, like really scared. It's like when I think about this, it's like, it's not so emotionally charged. Maybe it's like a 2. And just notice what that number is for you. Under the eye. Okay, under the nose, and you can repeat after me or ad-lib in your own way, whatever feels relevant to you. On the chin. When I think about drawing boundaries, I feel really stressed. Thinking about drawing boundaries makes me feel really stressed. Even thinking about having needs and then thinking about expressing those needs and thinking about telling somebody no. And thinking about expressing my preferences. All feels really stressful. All these feelings of survival stress. Maybe I feel panic or anxiety. Or maybe I completely shut down. Or maybe I feel a combination of the two. Feeling all this stress and anxiety. All this anger and resentment. Or all these feelings of powerlessness. Whatever it is that I'm feeling, I give myself permission to feel that. I want to give my system the space it needs to breathe its way through those feelings. And I want to offer myself the love and support that I need when I'm experiencing those things. All these feelings of shame. Shame and feelings of shutdown. Very closely tied together, by the way. Feelings of shame. Shame for having needs. Shame for not standing up for myself. Shame for not saying no when I needed to. Shame for always saying yes when I mean no. I feel so weak and pathetic. I feel so shameful and shut down. And all this shame feels really hard. But it feels so central to who I am. That's just who I am as a person. I could never stand up for myself. I could never stand my ground. I could never draw a boundary. I just can't say no. Even though I recognize that I need something that's different to what's being offered. I'm just so afraid of saying no. Because I'm afraid I'll be abandoned. And all the love's going to go away. And that feels so dangerous and scary that I would rather abandon myself than be abandoned by someone else. I would rather suppress my own needs to serve someone else's needs because I'm afraid of them abandoning me. I'm afraid of them getting angry with me. I'm afraid of them putting pressure on me. I might even be afraid of them being violent with me. And even though a part of my brain might know, that potentially that's quite unrealistic. And that I'm probably not helpless. It still feels true to me. And then there's a part of myself that judges myself for having this experience in the first place. All this survival stress. All these endless thought loops. Willing to release that now. Willing to give my body the space to feel what it needs to feel. Willing to listen to what my system needs. And willing to be here right now. Even if I haven't been before. I can feel how much this is costing me. And it feels really scary. It feels really scary how readily I'll abandon myself sometimes. And then experience all this pent-up resentment and anger. That I make about the other person. Just because I abandoned myself. And all that fiery energy. All that wonderful self-protecting fire energy. The energy of anger. The energy of no. The energy of fuck off, this is not okay. All of that I've suppressed over the years. Just feels like too much to deal with. And doesn't have an outlet. So I internalize it. And try to control it through shame. In the hope that if I shame myself enough, maybe I'll be able to control it. And maybe I'll start to feel better. But maybe more importantly, this outside love won't go away. Because that's what I'm really afraid of. And sometimes it feels so impossible that I might never be able to do this. That I might never be able to release enough survival stress in order to feel safe and comfortable and grounded. And okay to draw on my own boundaries. And okay to express my needs. And okay to say what I think. And okay to explain how I feel. Sometimes I'm so afraid of being left alone. There's a very young part of me in there that really wants to know that it's safe. So when I get angry with that part, even though the anger might have a really important message, that young part feels even more unsafe. And that doesn't feel good at all. That's when I start to feel all this agitation. All this angry, anxious energy. Combined with all this helplessness and powerlessness. Because actually the part of myself that suppresses my anger in the moment is trying to look out for what it believes is a greater need. The need for this person's love. But I'm starting to wonder, if I can't express myself authentically to this person, and they really receive what I'm saying, maybe that's not love. Maybe that's something more like control. If they can't or won't listen and respect my boundary, maybe they don't have my best interests at heart. Maybe that's not a relationship I really want much to do with. Because being under that much control certainly doesn't feel good for me. In fact, it creates a lot of tension in my system. And as soon as I'm ready, I'm willing to let as much of that tension go as I'm physically able. And maybe I could be ready to do that way sooner than I thought I could. Maybe I could even be ready to do that right here, right now. Just by being here and showing up for myself and letting myself feel what I need to feel and being completely present with what's here. Being committed to what I'm feeling until all of that feeling dissipates. Committed to showing up for myself, knowing that I'm going to make plenty of mistakes. I'm going to get that wrong a bunch of times. But I'm really willing to learn a different way. I'm really willing to let go of all that childhood survival stress. I'm really ready for something new. And if I'm not, maybe that's okay too. I'll plant the seed now, and I'll let it keep coming back to me. And in its own time, I'll be ready. There's no rush. So I can take the pressure off myself and fail forward gently, making my mistakes and learning, giving myself a wide berth, letting myself feel into what's important for me, letting myself feel my own needs and feel my own feelings. And find ways to serve those needs that aligns with mine and everyone else's best interest. I'm willing to take that chance. even though it might be uncertain. It might mean some change. It might mean some rearranging in my relationships, some upheaval and a little bit of chaos. Maybe a little bit of discomfort here and there. But I think I can probably handle that. And the payoff of being emotionally sovereign is well worth the discomfort. Willing to let go. Willing to be at peace. On the chest. Willing to stand my ground. Belly and chest. Inhale. Take a nice deep relaxing breath. Feel how you feel in your body. Notice what you notice. Check back in with that initial situation that you imagined at the start. What's the emotional intensity there now? Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Has it moved around a bit? Typically, we're just looking for any kind of movement, because as you start to work through this stuff and you start to bring out the thoughts and just let them express themselves and air themselves out, and you start to explore that landscape along with the feeling landscape, the sensation-based landscape, you start to give it space. It starts to reorganize itself in your psyche and in your body as well. And then it can start to settle down into a new order, like a different kind of structure, perceptual structure. So take a breath, check in with yourself. What am I feeling? What do I need? What am I available for? Ask yourselves those questions regularly. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have comments, feedback, anything that you want to request, and I'll see you in the next video.